I just learned about what's going on with Subnautica 2, and it is so messy. So Crafton is a
Subnautica 2 release is delayed by Crafton to prevent 250 million payout to Unknown Worlds triggers boycott by fandom. What the heck?
multi-billion
This is crazy.
publisher that purchased the developers of Subnautica Unknown Worlds, and in their agreement, as part of a 500, I'm
Spit
having
it
a
out,
50
Charlie.
moment. As part of a $500 million purchase, about $250 million was going to be allocated as bonus payout should they hit some targeted goals, some milestones. From out of nowhere, Crafton put their
That
shadow
already sounds like a scam right there. That doesn't even benefit the studio workers. I bet it just benefits CEOs.
and effectively fired three key leaders of Unknown Worlds.
Oh, great.
The CEO, the director, and co-founder. Three positions had all just been poofed away. And now it's come out that one of the motivating factors could
Hey
have
man, you know Thanos has to get his kicks from somewhere, right?
been that they were trying to avoid paying out a alleged $250 million bonus that they would have been entitled to.
So not only, so hold on, wait a minute. So what you mean to tell me is that they were given the opportunity to hit these milestones, and when they hit the milestones, instead of giving them their rewards, they canned them. Huh. Sounds very typical.
Release Subnautica 2 into early access like they had planned on, mainly for those three members there. They would see the majority of it. So the theory is that Crafton wanted to do all of that, so they fired them and then pushed the game to 2026. It's been delayed, so it's going to miss those milestones. Pretty convenient to save 250 million clams.
That's crazy.
So a lot of people are very up in arms.
You know, that seems very, very typical. I'm not even gonna lie
about this, not only from firing these three key leaders, but also for what seems to be the actual underlying reason in a lot of people's eyes. Now, Crafton has issued a statement today that is casting a lot of doubt on the leaders here that were let go, and it's got the community kind of split. It was a scathing statement that they put out. Now, before I dive even deeper in here, I would like to make a mention of something that I think is extremely important. GamerSupps has cans, baby, and Goof Juice is one of three. So, I'll put a link to it in the description, and it will be available. This statement from Crafton, driven by Project. Anyway, back to something that's not good, and that's what's happening with Subnautica 2. Let me show you the statement from Crafton here. Understandably, Crafton has been catching more shit than a construction site porta potty, and they put out this statement. So this is them trying to defend their decision to release these three key positions. First and foremost, we sincerely thank you for your continued support, passion, and unwavering dedication to Subnautica. Background of leadership change. Crafton deeply values Subnautica's unique creativity and immersive world building to provide fans with even better gaming experiences. We acquired Unknown Worlds, fully committed to supporting their future success. They go on to like why they snatched up this company. They can use a lot of words here, but the main thing is they saw how much money they stood to make by having this under their umbrella. They then talk about how they purchased for 500 million, but approximately 90% of it, approximately 90% of up to 250 million was for the three executives that they had just now let go. Now they explain why. Regrettably, the former leadership abandoned the response.
I mean, typically it's usually how it goes, right? I'm just gonna fire a bunch of people and give an excuse, even though it's not really the excuse.
Abilities entrusted to them. Subnautica 2 was originally planned for early access launch in early 2024, but the timeline has since been significantly delayed. Crafton made multiple requests to Charlie and Max to resume their roles as game director and technical director, respectively, but both declined to do so. In particular, following the failure of Moonbreaker, Crafton asked Charlie to devote himself to the development of Subnautica 2. However, instead of participating in the game development, he chose to focus on a personal film project. I'm going to take a brief pause here, a little intermission. I believe this is the personal film project Crafton is referring to. Abyssal Films, a new film production company from the creator of Subnautica, and this is the work, Nutmeg and Mistletoe, and an AI-generated poster to promote it. Myself and a small team are making an independent Christmas comedy together. Think of it like a spiritual successor to Elf. It's warm, funny, and has tons of heart. We're hoping to get a couple SNL vets to act in it as well. If that claim is true, that he abandoned Subnautica 2 to work on a Christmas...
Well, that just explained the entire gaming industry in a nutshell. You wouldn't believe how many of these people would rather be in Hollywood. Why? I don't know. Hollywood is one of the biggest pedophile-filled economies ever in the world, and somehow these people love to just want to be part of Hollywood. I don't know why. They need to get out of here. Like, there's so many of these live-action games that are just, like, point-and-click adventures, it feels like. It's so stupid. Like, I don't get why the gaming industry is trying to lean towards that, and then they get all butthurt whenever it's like, well, we don't really want to play that. It's not really a game.
Comedy with AI posters out the wazoo. That would be the craziest fucking plot twist. Moonbreaker, I'd never heard of before, but I looked into it. Apparently, almost all the criticism around that game was solely because of the microtransactions that were just ham-fisted.
Oh, big surprise. A game got shut down because of freaking microtransactions. Maybe if you took them out and made the game worth the shit to play, people might have played it.
Into it, which seems like it was a decision from Krafton, not so much them, like the actual developers. So they kind of like throw that nugget in here, like, well, after Moonbreaker fucking flopped and collapsed, all because they're bad developers, we asked if you could focus on maybe something good. Even though it seems like it was the Krafton DNA that ruined that with microtransactions, at least as I understand it. Keep in mind, I am very unfamiliar with Moonbreaker, but that's what I've been reading. Krafton believes that the absence of core leadership has resulted in repeated confusion in direction and significant delays in the overall project schedule. The current early access version also falls short in terms of content volume. We're deeply disappointed by the former leadership's conduct, and above all, we feel a profound sense of betrayal by their failure to honor the trust placed in them by our fans. I like how they say our fans. No one's fans of.
Well, like, you can't really say that there are because you bought the studio. Like, that's not how this works. They're the studio's fans. Just because you guys changed hands doesn't automatically make them yours, especially if you can't deliver on a game. Like, that's not how that works. We live in a day and age where you can't really play a game from a studio simply because of something they made 10 years ago. It's just not feasible anymore because the games that are coming out now are so just straight up garbo that it doesn't even have the same feeling that it did 10 years ago. Even 5 years ago.
Krafton, they were fans of Unknown Worlds, and now they're just adopting those fans. You've disappointed the Krafton loyalists, the enthusiasts of Krafton, that we've worked so hard to build. Krafton's full support for the dedicated development team to uphold their commitment to provide you with the best possible gaming experience. We made the difficult yet necessary decision.
Best possible gaming experience. Last time I checked, microtransactions were not in favor of the consumer. It doesn't seem like a very consumer-friendly policy.
Change the executive leadership. Subnautica 2 has been and continues to be actively developed by a dedicated core team who share genuine passion, accountability, and commitment to the game. We deeply respect their expertise and creativity and will continue to provide full and unwavering support, enabling them to focus solely on developing the exceptional game you deserve. And then it basically goes into now the second part about how they want fair and equitable compensation for all remaining Unknown Worlds employees who have continuously and tirelessly contributed to Subnautica 2's development, and that they believe it needs to be, rewarded.
See, what I see here is another woke game getting burnt to the ground. And a studio that isn't willing to, well, like, I wouldn't say necessarily a studio, I would say, like, the people that are funding the studio are coming to the realization that the game's probably not going to be worth the crap, and the studio making all these demands, and then when the game comes out and it's garbo, then, another studio being shut down. Big surprise, right?
Not the 3 key members that they've fired. That $250 million, well, that's fizzled out. So whatever they're promising to the remaining employees, I bet it's not to the tune of $250 million. Somehow they were able to weasel their way out of that huge paycheck. Now, what I found really interesting here is just how direct this is. This actually reads like fucking internet content creator beef. They are actually coming out here airing dirty laundry and just being blunt. Like, they abandoned the project. They would not work on it. They weren't doing the job that we expect them to do, like delivering this quality for early access that we want them to deliver, so we fired them. That's really harsh.
I kind of think that it's very valid as well. I mean, you don't want to do your job, then guess what happens at any other job in the world? You get fired. Congratulations, you're jobless. You can't just get a job and then not do the job. That's not how this works.
And in response to this, they are filing a lawsuit against them. But I will say, to be that direct...
I also hate to break it to them, but for the most case, like, most companies can fire you without any actual reason, because that's just how the U.S. works, I guess. I think it's stupid, but...
It leads me to believe that there might be more to this story than what people initially thought was going on here. Charlie Cleveland, Max McGuire, and former CEO Ted Gill are filing a lawsuit against Krafton amid an increasingly bitter row over $250 million bonus. In a statement, Cleveland called recent events an explosive and surreal time and told fans anxiously waiting to play Subnautica 2 that they all deserve the full story. So as for timeline, Krafton acquired them in 2021. They were told they'd be operating independently. Then they brought in a former striking distance CEO named Steve Papoutsis, and then Ted Gill, Charlie Cleveland, and Max McGuire were replaced effective immediately. Cleveland expressed his shock, saying, "After all these years to find out that I'm no longer able to work at the company I started stings." Krafton is sticking to their guns, saying that this decision had nothing to do with any contractual or financial considerations and was solely in response to feedback from playtests, and that delay talks were already on the table before those 3 were even outed, and that even after multiple requests, Cleveland and McGuire just declined to resume work on Subnautica 2 in the way that Krafton wanted them to. which I feel like that's a little odd, especially since $250 million was still on the table to hit these goals. I feel like they would be highly motivated to continue work on it instead of just spontaneously.
Yeah, it does actually ring a little bit of oddness in the air. Like, why? It kind of makes you wonder exactly what they were trying to do to the game itself. I mean, I had no intentions on playing this game because I looked at it and I was like, oh no, this ain't gonna be it. It has no, it like has the same like IP. It has everything that a woke game development team had. It has the IP. It has no want to go in the direction of the original IP. I mean, the damn thing's multiplayer for fuck's sake. I mean, that's a pretty big indicator. Probably riddled with microtransactions. So, like, I doubt that this game was ever really going to be what the original studio wanted simply because the uppers changed hands. So that's very, already right there, those are just massive red flags to what is already a really bad dying industry whenever it comes to woke and broke. It just, all the way around, just doesn't look like it's going to be very good for them.
Deciding like, no, we don't want that, and crossing their arms. But anyway, in response to all of this, they're filing this lawsuit. As I wrote last week, we know in our souls that the game is ready for early access. That's just how we roll, and we'd like nothing more than for you to
See,
play.
this is also the reason why these big indie studios are doing way better as well. Because whenever you have an indie studio that doesn't have to cater to shareholders with microtransactions, and the game is just better and you make more sales, overall, you just have a better time with the game. Like your game is more geared towards playability and replayability and less geared towards how can we suck the most money out of the players like a mosquito. It typically just does better, and it doesn't really want to cater or have the need to cater to shareholders. Like, it just in general is just a better player experience, which is where all the money comes from when it comes to playing a game. I don't understand why these big studios can't seem to understand it. Well, I mean, I'm sure they do, but they just genuinely don't give a shit. Like, that's really the underlying problem, is they just don't care. They just want money. And so, I mean, how many studios have to get shut down before the shareholders finally fuck off and let developers do what they need to do to make these games good again? You know?
Game devs live for this, but it's not currently under our control. We filed a lawsuit against Kraft, and the details should eventually become at least mostly public. You all deserve the full story. Suing a multi-billion-dollar company in a painful, public, and possibly protracted way was certainly not on my bucket list, but this needs to be made right. Subnautica has been my life's work, and I would never willingly abandon it or the amazing team that has poured their hearts into it. As for the earnout, the idea that Max, Ted, and I wanted to keep it all for ourselves is totally untrue. I'm in this industry because I love it, not for riches. Historically, we've always shared our profits with the team and did the same when we sold the studio. You can be damn sure we'll continue with the earnout bonus as well. They deserve it for all their incredible work trying to get this great game into your hands. Stay tuned. So now fans have responded to this, saying that they need to boycott Subnautica 2. Now, while the sentiment in the community has been
never works. It never works. I'm sorry, but that just doesn't work. They've tried boycotting these things. It just doesn't work. I mean, the studio gets shut down because the overall sales just don't meet what they're supposed to. But at the end of the day, like,
against Crafton and in support of them, there is, of course, a conversation that needs to be
it kind of feels like there's just two grown-ass adults that are just bickering back and forth, and whoever wins this lawsuit is going to be, like, the quote-unquote true person. So
a lot of people are discussing it about what kind of product were they going to release. Maybe it really isn't in the best state. With $250 million on the table, encouraging them to push out the game, maybe they were highly motivated to just get something out as quickly as possible to reach that goal. So fans are saying,
sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it?
It's hard to know, like, who's 100% right and wrong when it comes to this game of he said, she said, but with...
You know what? I'm going to end this here. You'll know who's right and who's wrong whenever somebody wins that lawsuit. And I guarantee you that $250 million that's on the table, that was never going to go towards the studio. That was just an incentive, and the people that were at the studio knew full well exactly what that incentive was trying to do. It was trying to make another woke studio where the CEOs profit, the studio developers get canned the minute that the game comes out, and then it's not worth the shit, and the CEOs walk off with all the money and get hired by another studio to rinse and repeat this process. That's really what the underlying problem is. So I think that it's a good thing that they're getting sued, and I think that it's a good thing that this is all coming to light, because the more this comes to light, the less likely it is to happen, and I hope them the best in their lawsuit. Bye-bye.